I will soon show you with my body, my lips, and my eyes. These words completely altered the destiny of the world's wealthiest individual. But little did anyone know that behind such an intimate declaration was the deepest betrayal from someone closest to the heart. This betrayal would not only cost a staggering $38 billion, but also leave 3 lives irreparably broken. This is the incredible story of how a single text message transformed a love story into the most expensive divorce in the history of humanity. It's a tale of how a brother sold out his own sister for a shot at tabloid fame, and how the most influential and powerful person on the planet was rendered powerless when confronted with one of the simplest yet most devastating forms of human betrayal. Before we get into the heart of our investigation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. Your support is what helps the channel grow. Now, let's rewind to 1993. A young and ambitious Wall Street analyst, Jeff Bezos, meets the brilliant writer Mackenzie Scott at the DHA hedge fund. Their first encounter felt like something straight out of a romantic comedy. Jeff was immediately captivated by Mackenzie's sharp mind and striking beauty, while she was drawn to his ambitious nature and big dreams, seeing in him a visionary with grand plans for the future.
I really didn't date much until my senior year in college, Bezos later confessed. But when he met Mackenzie, everything changed instantly. 3 months after meeting, they were engaged, and a year later, married. But their story wasn't just about love. It was a story about creating the future. When in 1994, Jeff read statistics about 2,300% internet growth, he understood this was his chance. But he also understood that without Mackenzie, he wouldn't succeed. Let's go to Seattle. I want to sell books through the internet.
The tabloid had photos from their secret meetings, recorded phone conversations, and most importantly, those deeply personal text messages. Bezos knew that if this information went public, his carefully built reputation would be shattered. In a rush, he called Mackenzie and confessed the truth. The woman who had stood by his side for 25 years, who had helped build Amazon from the ground up, and who had given birth to their 4 children, heard about her husband's betrayal directly from him, just hours before the entire world would find out. On January 11, 2019, the National Enquirer published a sensational article titled "Bezos Exposes His Mistress." It included every intimate detail of the affair, candid photos of the couple, and most shockingly, the exact text of that infamous message.
Mackenzie took on a wide range of tasks. She answered customer emails, packed books, and negotiated with suppliers. When they couldn't afford office furniture, she took matters into her own hands, personally assembling tables from old doors and wooden beams. We barely slept, only 4 hours a day, ate nothing but pizza, and dreamed of Amazon becoming bigger than Barnes & Noble, Mackenzie later reflected. And against all odds, her dreams didn't just come true, they exceeded every expectation. Amazon went public in 1997 with an initial market cap of $438 million. By 2018, that number had skyrocketed to a staggering $1 trillion.
Mackenzie and Jeff didn't just become wealthy, they became living symbols of the American dream turned into reality. But beneath all the fame and success lay one critical oversight that would come back to haunt Jeff in a big way. When they married in 1993, the young, idealistic couple never signed a prenuptial agreement. "Why would we need legal papers when we have love?" Jeff once joked. Years later, that joke would end up costing him a staggering $38 billion. The 2010s brought the Bezos family not only unimaginable wealth, but also enormous pressure. Jeff rose to become the richest man in the world, but the cost was steep. He worked 18-hour days, saw his 4 children less and less, and was rarely home. Meanwhile, Mackenzie, who once dreamed of a literary career, found herself pushed into the demanding role of a billionaire's wife. Mackenzie managed to write and publish 2 novels, but they were largely overshadowed by the overwhelming success of Amazon. According to friends close to the couple, Mackenzie began to express growing feelings of loneliness and emotional distance. "Jeff lives in the future, and I live in the present," she quietly confided to those closest to her. That one sentence would later prove to be hauntingly prophetic. In 2016, a woman entered Jeff's life who would alter the course of everything: Lauren Sanchez. A striking 47-year-old TV host and licensed helicopter pilot, Lauren was married to powerful Hollywood agent Patrick Whitesell and appeared to have it all: 3 children, a thriving career, and a glamorous lifestyle. But when she crossed paths with Jeff at a Hollywood party, something ignited between them, an undeniable spark that would go on to change not just their lives, but the fate of billions around the globe.
What followed next didn't just impact their personal lives. It sent shockwaves through Amazon's stock value, influenced thousands of jobs, and even cast uncertainty over the future of the Blue Origin space exploration program. Initially, Jeff and Lauren's connection appeared strictly professional. Lauren, who frequently worked as a helicopter pilot for high-profile clients, was hired by Bezos for a series of flights. But it wasn't long before their business relationship evolved into something far more personal. Jeff, who had previously expressed a strong dislike for helicopters, suddenly couldn't get enough of them. Amazon employees began noticing subtle but telling changes. Bezos started dressing with more flair, became a regular at the gym, and even switched up his hairstyle. At 58 years old, the once reserved tech mogul was now acting like a teenager swept up in a whirlwind romance.
For nearly a year, Jeff and Lauren carried on their relationship in complete secrecy. They would fly to his sprawling estates in Texas and Washington, meet discreetly in high-end hotels, and exchange deeply passionate messages. Jeff even went so far as to purchase a brand new private jet worth $65 million, dedicated solely to facilitating their hidden rendezvous. But perhaps the most costly mistake in the life of the world's most brilliant businessman was trusting Lauren with his most private and vulnerable thoughts, shared through text messages. Messages that, in time, would become the source of his public humiliation and financial loss. What Jeff didn't realize was that Lauren had a brother, Michael Sanchez, who was struggling with serious financial issues and had no problem exploiting family ties for profit. Michael, who worked in the entertainment industry, had close relationships with tabloid insiders and was constantly on the lookout for fast and easy ways to make money. When Michael Sanchez stumbled upon Jeff Bezos' intimate messages on his sister's phone by chance, he immediately recognized he had uncovered a gold mine. The world's richest man, a married billionaire, was sending deeply personal texts to Lauren. This revelation was worth millions. Without hesitation, Michael began secretly copying the messages from his sister's phone, photographing the screen when Lauren wasn't paying attention, and transferring the data to his own devices. For months, he meticulously gathered compromising information about one of the most powerful figures on the planet, quietly building a treasure trove that would soon shake the world. The most heartbreaking and cynical part of this story is that Lauren completely trusted her brother. She openly shared intimate details about her secret romance with Jeff, never suspecting that Michael was secretly recording every word with the intention of selling them to the tabloids. Among the hundreds of messages Michael collected, one stood out as especially scandalous. On August 15, 2018, Jeff Bezos sent Lauren a text that would go down in history. "I love you alive, girl. I will show you with my body, my lips, and my eyes very soon." But this message was only one among many that Michael had gathered, each more revealing than the last. In public, Jeff Bezos was known for his self-control and professionalism, but in his personal messages, he revealed a very different side, a passionate lover. He openly wrote about his deepest fantasies, discussed plans for a future together, and shared his most private and intimate experiences. Michael Sanchez quickly realized he wasn't just holding a scandal, he had uncovered a journalistic bombshell.
the world's richest man, a hero to millions of entrepreneurs, was revealed to be an ordinary human with flaws, desires, and vulnerabilities. The real danger, however, was that these personal weaknesses had the potential to not only shatter Bezos' private life, but also jeopardize the futures of thousands of Amazon employees and millions of investors who depended on the company's success.
The tabloid had photos from their secret meetings, recorded phone conversations, and most importantly, those deeply personal text messages. Bezos knew that if this information went public, his carefully built reputation would be shattered. In a rush, he called Mackenzie and confessed the truth. The woman who had stood by his side for 25 years, who had helped build Amazon from the ground up, and who had given birth to their 4 children, heard about her husband's betrayal directly from him, just hours before the entire world would find out. On January 11, 2019, the National Enquirer published a sensational article titled "Bezos Exposes His Mistress." It included every intimate detail of the affair, candid photos of the couple, and most shockingly, the exact text of that infamous message.
I will show you with my body, my lips, and my eyes very soon. The moment this message became public, the reaction was swift and devastating. Within just 1 hour, Amazon's stock price plunged by 6%, wiping out $60 billion in market value. Employees were stunned. Their once perfect and untouchable leader was now revealed as an ordinary man, entangled in a scandalous affair. However, the hardest blow was yet to come for Bezos. Because he had never signed a prenuptial agreement back in 1993, Mackenzie was legally entitled to half of all the assets accumulated during their marriage. This meant she was poised to receive half of their Amazon shares, valued at over $75 billion. It was revealed that Lauren's brother had sold the private messages to the tabloid for just $200,000. $200,000 that came at the expense of his sister's shattered life, Jeff Bezos' $38 billion financial loss, and millions of investors who suffered from Amazon's stock plunge. When Lauren discovered her brother's betrayal, she was heartbroken. "I trusted him more than anyone else in my life," she confided to close friends. "He destroyed not only my life, but also my children's, Jeff's and Mackenzie's lives." Michael Sanchez never officially admitted to the act, but all the evidence pointed squarely at him. He suddenly came into wealth, buying a new home and a luxury car, but the cost of his newfound fortune proved far too heavy, even for him to bear. The negotiations stretched on for months, with lawyers working tirelessly day and night to reach a settlement that wouldn't completely damage Amazon. In the end, Mackenzie agreed to accept 4% of the company's stock instead of the 12% she was legally entitled to. However, even this reduced share was worth an astonishing $38 billion, instantly making her one of the wealthiest women on the planet. While the world buzzed with discussions about the Bezos divorce, the FBI launched an investigation into how the National Enquirer had obtained the private messages of the richest person alive. The inquiry lasted nearly a year, and ultimately all evidence pointed to one individual, Michael Sanchez. It was revealed that Lauren's brother had sold the private messages to the tabloid for just $200,000. $200,000 that came at the expense of his sister's shattered life, Jeff Bezos' $38 billion financial loss, and millions of investors who suffered from Amazon's stock plunge. When Lauren discovered her brother's betrayal, she was heartbroken. "I trusted him more than anyone else in my life," she confided to close friends. "He destroyed not only my life, but also my children's, Jeff's and Mackenzie's lives." Michael Sanchez never officially admitted to the act, but all the evidence pointed squarely at him. He suddenly came into wealth, buying a new home and a luxury car, but the cost of his newfound fortune proved far too heavy, even for him to bear. Michael Sanchez lost his family forever because of his actions. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez are now officially married and planning a lavish wedding estimated to cost over $50 million. The ceremony is set to take place on June 27 aboard Jeff's $500 million yacht, Kourou, in the stunning city of Venice. However, even 5 years after the scandal erupted, the shadows of their past still linger. When photos of their wedding invitations surfaced online, decorated with butterflies, stars, and soft pink and blue hues, the internet immediately erupted with ridicule. For $50 million, they could have hired a much better designer, users sarcastically commented.
Mackenzie Bezos, who now goes by Mackenzie Scott, transformed into one of the world's most impactful philanthropists. She has donated over $12 billion to various charitable causes and remarried a local school teacher, finding a quieter, more grounded happiness. Ironically, her new life and wedding cost a fraction of what her ex-husband's extravagant ceremony did. To truly understand how the National Enquirer managed to deal such a devastating blow to one of the world's most powerful figures, it's important to explore the shadowy underworld of American tabloids. This industry thrives on exposing human weaknesses, betrayals, and scandals involving some of the planet's most influential and wealthy personalities. The National Enquirer is far from an ordinary newspaper. It's a relentless journalistic machine that has been pursuing celebrities and billionaires for decades.
The National Enquirer employs a team that includes private investigators, hackers, and professional provocateurs, all ready to spend millions to acquire compromising information about famous individuals. Within the tabloid's editorial office, there is a specialized department dedicated solely to billionaires. This team closely monitors their every move, scrutinizes financial documents, tracks private jet flights, and even bribes employees at hotels and restaurants to gather insider information. Jeff Bezos entered their radar back in 2017, shortly after he became the richest person in the world. Michael Sanchez wasn't the first family member of a celebrity to betray their own for quick cash. History is full of such stories. Brothers and sisters, parents and children alike have all turned traitors in pursuit of fast money.
However, the Bezos scandal became the most explosive in history due to the staggering scale of financial and personal losses involved. Jeff Bezos had always placed his faith in the power of technology. He built the world's most advanced logistics network, developed groundbreaking artificial intelligence systems, and even launched rockets into space. Yet, when faced with human betrayal and greed, all of his technological advancements proved utterly powerless. The most striking aspect of this entire saga is that Bezos had access to some of the most sophisticated cybersecurity systems in the world. Amazon Web Services safeguards data for governments and the planet's largest corporations. Still, a simple spying tool, a smartphone camera wielded by a deceitful brother, managed to bypass every defense and bring everything crashing down. Cybersecurity experts reveal that around 90% of information leaks don't happen due to hacker attacks, but because of the human factor: employees, family members, and close friends. These insiders have access to the most sensitive secrets and can ruin someone's reputation in mere minutes. Following the Bezos scandal, all major Silicon Valley tech companies completely overhauled their strategies for protecting the personal information of their top executives. Today, every CEO is supported by a dedicated team of at least 50 specialists who carefully monitor their every move and communication. What few people considered was how deeply the divorce scandal impacted Bezos' ambitions in space exploration. Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' private space exploration company, suffered massive financial setbacks as a direct result of the founder's damaged reputation. The scandal caused billions of dollars in potential investment to vanish almost overnight. Investors who had once been eager to fund missions to the Moon and Mars suddenly began questioning the judgment and reliability of a man who couldn't even safeguard his own private messages.
If he couldn't protect his own data, how could he be trusted to ensure the safety of astronauts in the harsh environment of space? NASA, which had been actively exploring partnerships with Blue Origin, decided to pause all negotiations for an entire year. Meanwhile, the European Space Agency pulled out of joint ventures altogether, citing serious concerns over reputational risk.
Experts estimate that the scandal set back Bezos' space program by at least 5 years and resulted in more than $15 billion in lost investments. His ambitious dream of colonizing the moon was put on hold indefinitely. To truly understand what might drive someone to betray their own sibling for money, it's important to examine the psychology of Michael Sanchez. Born into a Mexican immigrant family, Michael spent most of his life in the shadow of his more successful sister, Lauren. From a young age, Lauren was seen as the family's rising star, beautiful, intelligent, and fiercely ambitious. She rose to fame as a television host, married a powerful Hollywood agent, and lived a glamorous life in a luxurious Beverly Hills mansion.
Michael's repeated attempts to break into the entertainment industry ultimately led nowhere. According to psychologists who have studied his behavior, he displayed signs of a deep-rooted inferiority complex and long-standing jealousy toward his sister, Lauren. So when the chance appeared to profit from her private relationship, it wasn't just about money. It became a twisted form of revenge for years of feeling overshadowed and overlooked. The most tragic aspect of this story is that Michael failed to grasp the full scope of the consequences. Focused solely on a quick payday, he didn't realize that his actions would devastate not only his sister's life, but also impact millions of people tied to Amazon. Economists later estimated that the Bezos scandal inflicted over $200 billion in damage to the global economy.
A psychologist who counseled Jeff Bezos in the aftermath of the scandal shared that Bezos kept repeating the same haunting phrase, "How could I have been so naive?" It was a bitter irony. This was a man who had predicted the e-commerce revolution decades before it happened, yet he couldn't foresee the betrayal of someone so close. The key lesson from this entire saga is chilling in its simplicity. One mistake, one poorly thought-out message, one person you trust in the wrong moment can unravel everything in mere hours. Today, billionaires around the world have taken this warning to heart. They are now surrounded by teams of lawyers, cybersecurity experts, and reputation consultants. Prenuptial agreements stretch across hundreds of pages. Every new acquaintance is thoroughly vetted. Every message is encrypted.
But ultimately, the core lesson of this story isn't about wealth, technology, or even power. It's about something far more human. The fact that the deepest betrayals often come from those closest to us. Trust remains the most valuable asset a person can have, yet it is also the most fragile and easily broken. 5 years after the scandal, all the key figures involved now lead very different lives. Jeff Bezos stepped down from his role as CEO of Amazon and shifted his focus to his lifelong passion, the Blue Origin space program. But despite moving forward, the shadows of the past continue to follow him. When he proposed to Lauren Sanchez in 2023, the media instantly resurrected memories of their scandalous romance from 5 years earlier, proving that some stories are never truly forgotten.
Every tiny detail of Jeff and Lauren's upcoming wedding is now dissected and criticized by the public. Even something as trivial as the color of the napkins sparks heated debates across social media platforms. Lauren Sanchez, who once enjoyed a successful career as a respected television host, now lives under the constant weight of media scrutiny. The relentless attention has taken a toll, forcing her to walk away from journalism entirely, as many no longer took her seriously after the scandal. Her children from a previous marriage have also paid a heavy price, enduring relentless teasing and mockery from classmates. In contrast, Mackenzie Scott managed to turn personal tragedy into a path of empowerment and purpose, discovering new opportunities and meaning through the fallout. Mackenzie Scott went on to become one of the most influential and admired women in America, dedicating her wealth to causes that matter, donating billions of dollars to education, healthcare, and the fight against poverty. Her second husband, Dan Jewett, a humble and kind-hearted schoolteacher, gave her something she never truly had with Bezos: genuine emotional connection, closeness, and deep mutual understanding. But the most tragic figure in this entire saga remains Michael Sanchez, the man who sold out his own sister for a mere $200,000. Today, he lives in social exile. Lauren has completely severed all ties with him, and other members of the family have also cut off communication. The money he received from the National Enquirer vanished quickly, leaving him not just broke, but alone and disgraced.
Michael Sanchez attempted to capitalize on the scandal by writing a tell-all book, but no major publisher was willing to touch it, fearing potential lawsuits from Jeff Bezos. He later tried to launch a podcast to share his side of the story, but it quickly failed as listeners flooded the platform with backlash, condemning him for betraying his own sister. Today, 58-year-old Michael lives in a modest apartment in Los Angeles and works as a mid-level manager at a small PR firm. His co-workers keep their distance. Most are well aware of his controversial past. He never married, has no children, and leads a life of near total isolation. In the rare interviews he gives, Michael insists he has no regrets. But mental health experts and psychologists who have observed his public appearances say otherwise. They see clear signs of deep remorse, inner turmoil, and quiet despair. In the end, he didn't just destroy his family, he sacrificed his own future for a fleeting moment of financial gain.
The Bezos scandal marked a turning point in how billionaires and celebrities approach personal security. In its aftermath, the standards for protecting private lives and sensitive information were permanently transformed. Today, nearly every ultra-wealthy individual follows a strict, specialized protocol designed to shield their digital footprint from exposure. Family members' smartphones are now equipped with advanced security software that blocks screenshots, screen recordings, and prevents the transfer of data to unauthorized parties. Text messages are encrypted by default and often set to auto-delete after a short period to minimize the risk of leaks. Even household staff and personal assistants are required to pass rigorous background checks, often including polygraph tests and psychological evaluations, before being allowed anywhere near a billionaire's inner circle.
Every member of a billionaire's family now has a dedicated personal bodyguard, responsible not just for their physical safety, but also for guarding their information security around the clock. Some of the ultra-wealthy have abandoned texting altogether, opting instead for voice communications exclusively through highly secure encrypted channels. Meanwhile, others employ professional lookalikes who handle their social media presence and public interactions to minimize personal exposure.